Ambassador Zorcal hurried through the gleaming corridors of the Galactic Council station. His four-fingered hands clutched a data tablet tightly against his chest. The blue-tinted skin around his large eyes had darkened with stress, a clear sign of anxiety among Vexillians. He had spent 20 Earth years studying humans from his observation post near the Sol system, and what he had discovered filled him with both wonder and dread. The enormous doors to the council chamber slid open. Inside, representatives from 37 spacefaring civilizations sat in tiered rows, their attention focused on Grand Counselor Drev. The Arctarian leader was discussing trade regulations for the Orion Arm when Zorcal entered. "Forgive the interruption," Zorcal said, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into the standard council language. "I bring urgent information that cannot wait." Drev's facial tentacles twitched with annoyance. "Ambassador Zorcal, this council recognizes the Vexillian Observation Corps, but we are in the middle of important business. More important than a potential new spacefaring species that could change the balance of the galaxy?" Zorcal asked, stepping forward. A murmur spread through the chamber. New species were discovered occasionally, but most took centuries to develop space travel after their industrial revolution. Few warranted emergency council attention. "You have 5 minutes," Drev said coldly. Zorcal connected his tablet to the chamber's display system. Images of Earth appeared. Blue oceans, green and brown land masses swirling white clouds. "This is Earth, third planet of the Sol system. Its dominant species call themselves humans. When I began my observation 20 years ago, they had just sent primitive spacecraft to their moon. Today they have robots on multiple planets in their system, a space station, and thousands of satellites." He showed a timeline of human technological development. "What concerns me is not just their rate of advancement, but their approach to challenges. When they encounter an obstacle, they rarely retreat. Instead, they become more determined. They also form emotional connections to their machines, giving names to rovers and treating them almost like living beings." The chamber remained quiet as Zorcal continued. "Most concerning is their history. Unlike most council species who unified before developing advanced technology, humans have fought wars throughout their development. They've created weapons specifically to kill other humans. Yet paradoxically, they show remarkable cooperation after conflicts." Science Officer Alara, a slender being from the crystalline Luminar species, leaned forward. "Have they detected any signals from council space?" "Yes," Zorcal replied. "They've intercepted our long-range communications. Their scientists are already working to decode them. Based on my projections, they will develop faster than light travel within 5 years, possibly sooner." Laughter erupted from several council members. Drev's facial tentacles relaxed into the Arctarian expression of amusement. "Ambassador, with all due respect to your diligence, this seems highly improbable," Drev said. "The gap between system travel and FTL capability is vast. The Drelian species took 3 centuries to make that leap, and they were considered quick learners." "Humans are different," Zorcal insisted. "They don't approach problems like other species. They make intuitive leaps. They pursue multiple solution paths simultaneously. They celebrate individuals who challenge established thinking." He displayed more images. Earth cities at night, glowing with electricity, massive ships crossing oceans, planes soaring through clouds, and humans working together to rescue others from disasters. "They are cooperative yet competitive, peaceful yet warlike, logical yet emotional. Their contradictions make them unpredictable and dangerous." Counselor Merev of the Barathi Confederation spoke up. "What would you have us do, Ambassador? Violate our own prime directive and reveal ourselves to a pre-FTL civilization? I recommend establishing peaceful contact now, on our terms," Zorcal said. "If we wait until they develop FTL capability independently, our first meeting will be on their terms and they may perceive us as having been watching them in secret, which we have." Drev stood, his tall frame towering over the central platform. "This is fear-mongering. We have protocols for emerging civilizations. We observe, we do not interfere. When they develop FTL travel, we welcome them according to our established procedures." Those procedures were developed for species that follow predictable development patterns, Zorcal argued. Humans are advancing exponentially. By the time they reach us, they may have military technology comparable to our own. Absurd, said Drev. No species develops that quickly. Science Officer Alara raised her crystalline hand. I would like to review the ambassador's data before dismissing it. The development timeline does show unusual acceleration. Your concern is noted, Science Officer, Drev said dismissively. Does anyone else wish to waste council time with this matter? The chamber remained silent. Most council members had already returned their attention to their personal screens, clearly uninterested in some backwater planet's primitive inhabitants. I move that we continue standard observation protocols for this Earth and return to our scheduled agenda, Drev announced. I second the motion, said Councillor Mirev. All in favor? Drev asked. 15 appendages of various forms rose in agreement. Opposed? Only Zorcal and Alara indicated opposition. Motion carries, Drev declared. Standard observation protocols will continue. Thank you for your report, Ambassador, though. In the future, please submit non-emergency observations through proper channels. Zorcal's skin darkened further as he collected his data tablet. You will regret this decision, he said quietly. As he left the chamber, Ilara followed him. I would like to see your complete data, she said. Something about these humans interests me. They should interest everyone, Zorcal replied, because they're coming, whether we're ready or not. Meanwhile, on Earth, Commander Frank Peters stood in a secure underground facility, staring at a strange signal pattern on a large screen. The room was filled with advanced computers and monitoring equipment, the combined effort of multiple countries' space agencies. What do you think, Dr. Winters? He asked the woman beside him. Dr. Olivia Winters pushed her glasses up and pointed to the repeating pattern. It's definitely artificial, Frank. The pattern is too regular to be natural cosmic noise, and it's coming from the direction of Epsilon Eridani. Aliens? Frank asked, half joking. I wouldn't rule it out, Olivia said seriously. But what's really interesting is the mathematical sequence embedded in the signal. It's almost like instructions. Instructions for what? Olivia's eyes lit up with excitement. If I'm interpreting this correctly, and I think I am, it's showing principles for a new type of propulsion system, something that could potentially exceed the speed of light. Frank stared at her, then back at the pattern. Are you saying someone out there is telling us how to build starships? Not intentionally, Olivia replied. I think we're picking up their equivalent of technical manuals or educational broadcasts. They probably have no idea we can intercept their communications. How long until we could build something based on this? Frank asked. Olivia thought for a moment. With the right team and resources? 3 years, maybe less. Frank nodded slowly. I'll inform the president immediately. This changes everything. As they looked at the star map on the wall, neither of them realized just how right he was. In 3 years, humanity would take its first steps into a much larger universe, one that wasn't nearly as prepared for them as they thought. 3 years passed quickly on Earth. In a massive underground hangar beneath the Nevada desert, the USS Defiant stood ready for its maiden voyage. The ship's sleek hull gleamed under the bright lights. Unlike the clunky rockets of the past, the Defiant looked smooth and purposeful, designed to slip through the fabric of space itself. Commander Frank Peters walked around the vessel, running his hand along the cool metal surface. He had been chosen to captain humanity's first faster-than-light ship, a responsibility that kept him awake most nights. She's beautiful, isn't she? Dr. Olivia Winters appeared beside him, her tablet computer tucked under her arm. Dark circles under her eyes showed she had been sleeping as little as Frank. Worth every minute we put into her, Frank agreed. Is the team ready? Olivia nodded. Alan's running final checks on the drive system. Lisa just finished calibrating the sensor array. Alan Davis and Lisa Morris were the best engineers Earth had to offer. Alan, with his practical approach to impossible problems, had been crucial in translating the alien signals into working technology. Lisa had designed sensors, capable of detecting things humans had previously only imagined. "And you?" Frank asked, noting Olivia's tired expression. "I'll sleep better once we've proven the math works," she said with a small smile. "We're about to find out if those signals were what I thought they were." The launch countdown began at dawn. Inside the Defiant, Frank sat in the command chair while Olivia, Alan, and Lisa manned their stations. 10 other crew members, scientists and military personnel, prepared for humanity's greatest journey. "All systems green," Alan reported from engineering. "Drive is stable and ready." "Sensors operational," Lisa added. "Navigation is locked on target coordinates." Frank took a deep breath. "Mission control, this is Defiant. We are go for launch." "Understood. Defiant," came the reply from below. "You are cleared for departure. Godspeed." The hangar roof slid open above them, revealing the early morning sky. The Defiant rose silently, lifted by gravity manipulation technology reverse-engineered from the alien signals. Within minutes, they passed through the atmosphere and into orbit. "Prepare for FTL jump," Frank ordered, once they cleared Earth's gravitational influence. Olivia's fingers flew across her console. "Coordinates set for the edge of the Epsilon Eridani system. That's where the signals originated." "Drive spooling up," Alan reported. 80%, 90, 100%. "Ready when you are, Commander." Frank looked around at his crew, seeing the same mix of fear and excitement he felt. "Engage FTL drive." The stars outside the viewport stretched into lines. A slight vibration ran through the ship, and then a sensation like falling and rising simultaneously washed over the crew. 3 seconds later, the stars returned to normal points of light but in entirely different patterns. "Jump successful," Olivia announced, her voice filled with wonder. "We did it. We actually did it." "Position?" Frank asked. "Exactly where we planned," Lisa replied. "Edge of the Epsilon Eridani system. Travel time, 3.2 seconds. The Ezai crew erupted in cheers. Humans had broken the light speed barrier. The universe had just become much smaller. Their celebration was cut short when Lisa called out, "Commander, I'm detecting a ship at coordinates 27 Mark III. Frank straightened in his chair. "Show me." The main screen displayed a vessel unlike anything humans had designed. It was roughly twice the size of the Defiant, with a central body surrounded by curved, wing-like structures. "Are they seeing us?" Frank asked. "I believe so," Lisa said. "They've changed course. They're approaching slowly." Frank turned to Olivia. "Could this be the source of our signals?" "It's possible," she replied, studying her readings. "The technology signatures are similar." "All stations yellow alert," Frank ordered. "Let's be cautious but not aggressive. Open a channel, all frequencies, universal greeting message." The by message, a simple mathematical sequence followed by basic chemical formulas and images of human peaceful interaction, transmitted toward the alien vessel. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then Lisa announced, "They're responding." The view screen flickered and an alien face appeared. Blue-tinted skin surrounded large, expressive eyes. The being had no visible nose, and its mouth seemed designed for different sounds than human speech. "Greetings, humans," the alien said in surprisingly good English. "I am Zorkal of the Vexillian Observation Corps. I have been expecting you, though not quite so soon." Frank exchanged shocked glances with Olivia before responding. "I am Commander Frank, Peters of Earth's vessel Defiant. How do you know our language?" "I have studied your species for over 20 Earth years," Zorkal replied. "Your television and radio broadcasts have been most educational. May I come aboard your vessel? There is much we need to discuss, and little time to do so." After security, protocols, and careful scanning, Zorkal's shuttle docked with the Defiant. The alien ambassador stepped through the airlock, slightly taller than an average human, but moving with surprising grace in Earth-normal gravity. In the conference room, Zorkal explained his situation. "I was stationed near your system to observe human development. 3 years ago, I warned the Galactic Council about your species' rapid advancement. They ignored me and continued standard non-interference protocols for pre-FTL civilizations. Galactic Council? Olivia repeated. How many species are out there? 37 spacefaring civilizations currently have council representation, Zorkal said. Hundreds more are known but haven't yet developed faster-than-light travel. And where do we fit in now? Frank asked. Zorkal's large eyes blinked, slowly. That is complicated. After my warning was dismissed, I was reassigned to this research outpost, effectively exiled. The Council believes humans will follow the typical development pattern, taking decades to refine FTL travel before venturing beyond your neighboring stars. He gestured toward the Defiant. Clearly, they were wrong. What will happen when they realize we're here? Lisa asked. Some will welcome you, Zorkal said. Others will fear you, and a few, particularly the Arctarians led by Grand Counselor Drev, may see you as a threat to be contained. He activated a small device that projected recordings of council meetings. The humans watched as Zorkal's warnings were dismissed and ridiculed. I believe you deserve to know the truth, Zorkal said. The Council is not united on how to handle emerging species, especially ones as unusual as humans. Unusual how? Frank asked. You advance exponentially rather than linearly. You embrace conflict as a path to progress. You form emotional bonds with machines. You prioritize individual innovation over collective stability. Zorkal's expression shifted in a way the humans couldn't interpret. These traits make you unpredictable. In galactic politics, unpredictable species are considered dangerous. On the Council homeworld, Science Officer Ilara hurried through restricted archives. She had been investigating discrepancies in reports about human development. What she found disturbed her deeply. Military readiness assessments had been systematically altered to downplay human capabilities. Resource surveys of systems near Earth had been classified under Arctarian security protocols. When she confronted Grand Counselor Drev with her findings, his facial tentacles writhed with anger. You exceed your authority, Science Officer, he hissed. And you exceed yours, Ilara replied. The Council wasn't informed that the Arctarian Empire has territorial claims on 7 systems within 50 light-years of Earth. Those claims predate human relevance, Drev said dismissively. Is that why you dismissed Ambassador Zorkal's warning? To protect your expansion plans? Ilara asked. Before Drev could respond, an aide rushed in. Grand Counselor, urgent news. From the border monitoring stations. A human vessel has been detected in Council space. Drev's anger transformed into something colder, more calculated. It seems our primitive neighbors have surprised us all. Convene the Council immediately. We must contain this situation before it escalates. As Ilara left, she knew what Drev really meant. They needed to contain humanity before it threatened Arctarian ambitions. She needed to warn someone, but who would listen? The emergency session of the Galactic Council was filled with shouting and accusations. Grand Counselor Drev stood at the center platform, his facial tentacles rigid with controlled anger. The situation is clear, Drev announced. These humans have violated Council space without permission or proper first contact protocols. We must respond firmly to establish proper boundaries. Most Council members nodded in agreement, but Science Officer Ilara stepped forward. With respect, Grand Counselor, we should approach this diplomatically. Humans have just achieved faster-than-light travel. They cannot be expected to know our territorial boundaries. Drev's eyes narrowed. Are you suggesting we allow any primitive species to wander freely through Council space? What next? Shall we invite them to Council meetings? Laughter rippled through the chamber, but Ilara stood firm. I suggest we send a diplomatic vessel to escort them back to their territory and open formal communication channels, as our protocols actually require. Your concern is noted, Drev said dismissively. However, the Defense Committee has already approved my recommendation. An inspection fleet has been dispatched to intercept the human vessel and escort it back to its system. Ilara's crystalline form shimmered with alarm. Inspection fleet? You mean warships? I mean vessels capable of defending Council interests if necessary, Drev replied coolly. The vote has been taken. This meeting is adjourned. As the council members dispersed, Alara hurried to her private chamber. She needed to warn someone about Drev's true intentions. After ensuring her communication was secure, she sent an encrypted message to the only person who might help, Ambassador Zorcal. Meanwhile, aboard the Defiant, Frank Peters and his crew were learning about galactic politics from Zorcal. The alien had just finished explaining the council's structure when an alert sounded. Multiple vessels approaching, Lisa Morris called out from her sensor station. They're moving fast and on an intercept course. Zorcal moved to the view screen. His blue skin darkened when he saw the ships. Those are Arctarian vessels, military class, not diplomatic. Could they be coming to welcome us? Olivia asked. Hopefully. Those ships are not designed for welcoming, Zorcal replied grimly. The lead vessel is a Dominance-class cruiser. The others are subjugator escorts. Frank returned to his command chair. Yellow alert, raise shields. I recommend we leave immediately, Zorcal said. Return to Earth space. Running doesn't seem like the best first impression, Frank argued. Before Zorcal could respond, a communication request came through. Frank nodded to Lisa, who opened the channel. An Arctarian officer appeared on screen, facial tentacles moving in patterns that seemed aggressive even to humans who had never seen the species before. Attention, human vessel. This is Commander Vrex, of the Galactic Council Inspection Fleet. You have illegally entered Council space. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Frank stood straight, projecting calm authority. This is Commander Frank Peters of the Earth vessel Defiant. We apologize for any territorial violation. We're on a peaceful mission of exploration and first contact. Your explanations can be given after inspection, Vrex replied coldly. Power down now, or we will be forced to disable your vessel. Frank muted the transmission and turned to Zorcal. What are they really after? This is not standard procedure, Zorcal said. A diplomatic warning would be normal for a first incursion. This is... He paused, receiving a message on his personal device. We must leave immediately. Science officer. Alara has warned me this is not an inspection. It's an attempt to capture your ship and study your technology. Frank unmuted the channel. Commander Vrex, we mean no disrespect to the Council. We will return to our territory and request proper diplomatic channels be established for future contact. That is not acceptable, Vrex snapped. Power down or face consequences. The transmission ended abruptly. Moments later, Lisa shouted, They're charging weapons! Red alert! Evasive maneuvers! Frank ordered. Alan, prepare the FTL drive for emergency jump. The Arctarian ships fired a concentrated electromagnetic pulse designed to disable the Defiant systems. The energy wave hit the ship, causing the lights to flicker. Shields holding at 80%, Lisa reported, surprise in her voice. Olivia smiled grimly. Our shield design is based on Earth's magnetosphere. It diffuses electromagnetic energy rather than blocking it directly. The Arctarians, clearly shocked that their first attack hadn't crippled the supposedly primitive human vessel, began conventional weapons fire. Evasive pattern delta, Frank ordered. The Defiant moved with surprising speed and agility, avoiding most of the incoming fire. FTL drive ready, Alan called from engineering. Get us out of here, Frank commanded. Back to Earth. The stars stretched. As the Defiant jumped to faster-than-light speed, behind them the Arctarian fleet scrambled to pursue. They're following, Lisa reported as they dropped back to normal space near Saturn. Their FTL drive is slower than ours, but they're still coming. Alan's voice came over the comm. Commander, I have an idea. Our communication boys, if we modify them to broadcast on rotating frequencies, we could scatter their sensor readings. It happened, Frank ordered. The Defiant deployed the modified buoys in a wide pattern while continuing toward Earth. When the Arctarian fleet arrived, their sensors detected what appeared to be multiple human vessels moving in different directions. It worked, Lisa exclaimed. They're splitting up to chase sensor ghosts. Frank turned to Zorcal. We need to get you somewhere safe. The Council might consider you a traitor now. Earth is as good a place as any, Zorcal replied. And I may be of some use to your people in preparing for what comes next. On Earth, President Kathy Rivera sat in the Oval Office, reading the preliminary report of the Defiance encounter. The room was filled with military officers, scientists, and political advisors, all waiting for her response. "So," she said finally, "we're not alone, and our neighbors aren't all friendly." She looked up at Admiral Harold Kelly. "Options?" The Admiral stepped forward. "Madam President, we have two choices. We can try to hide and hope they leave us alone, or we can prepare to defend ourselves. Can we fight an interstellar civilization with multiple worlds and centuries of advancement over us?" Rivera asked. "Not conventionally," Dr. Winters admitted. "But the Defiant proved we have advantages they don't expect. Our FTL drive is faster. Our shields worked against their initial attack, and most importantly, they underestimate us." Admiral Kelly nodded. "I propose we accelerate the FTL ship construction program but keep it hidden. We make it appear that the Defiant was a one-off experimental vessel. Meanwhile, we build a fleet in secret." "A fleet requires resources, personnel, and secrecy," Rivera pointed out. "The good news, Madam President," Kelly replied, "is that our nations have never been more united than since the discovery of alien life. I believe this threat will bring Earth together like nothing in our history." Rivera stood and walked to the window, looking out at the Washington Monument. "How quickly can we have a defensive fleet ready? With global cooperation and the knowledge gained from the alien signals? 8 months for 50 vessels, Kelly said. "Maybe sooner." "Make it happen," Rivera ordered, "and give it a name." Kelly smiled slightly. "We're calling it Project Trojan, Madam President." "Appropriate," Rivera said. "Let's hope it works as well for us as it did for the ancient Greeks." Back in Council space, Grand Counselor Drev was furious. The human ship had escaped, and Ambassador Zorcal had disappeared with them. "How did one primitive vessel evade 6 of our best ships?" he demanded. Commander Vrek stood stiffly at attention. "Their technology is more advanced than our intelligence suggested. Their FTL drive is at least 30% faster than our vessels, and their defensive systems resisted our standard disabling protocols." "Find them," Drev ordered. "Establish surveillance at the edge of their system. I want to know everything they do, everywhere they go." What Drev didn't realize was that his political position was already weakening. Science Officer Ilara had shared her concerns with other council members. The failed interception had raised questions about Drev's judgment and motives. For the first time in 50 years, the Grand Counselor's leadership was being questioned. And somewhere in the darkness of space, humanity was preparing its response. 8 months passed. The Arcturian observation ships positioned at the edge of the Sol system reported exactly what Grand Counselor Drev wanted to hear. Humans were struggling with their new cosmic perspective. The Council Intelligence Report described Earth as a planet divided. Occasional human ships ventured beyond Mars, but they were easy to track and seemed to have limited capabilities. Their FTL technology appeared unstable, with only 2 more test flights detected, both staying within their home system. Drev presented these findings to the Galactic Council with satisfaction. "As you can see, the human threat has been contained. Their first contact with our inspection fleet taught them appropriate caution." Most council members nodded in agreement, but Science Officer Ilara remained skeptical. "Is it possible they are aware of our observation posts and are concealing their activities?" Drev's facial tentacles twitched in amusement. "Our cloaking technology is far beyond their detection capabilities. They have no idea we're watching." Behind Neptune's orbit, hidden from the Arcturian observation posts, Earth had built something extraordinary. A massive shipyard floated in the darkness, concealed by the gas giant's magnetic field and a network of sensor-jamming buoys similar to those used by the Defiant during its escape. Inside this secret facility, Admiral Harold Kelly walked through rows of sleek spacecraft. 50 vessels of various sizes were in final preparation stages. Each incorporated both human innovation and reverse-engineered council technology based on data provided by Zorcal. "How much longer?" Kelly asked the chief engineer beside him. 2 weeks at most, Admiral, the woman replied. "The last 10 ships are having their FTL drives calibrated now." Kelly nodded with satisfaction. "And the crews?" "Training is complete. They've run over 300 simulations in the past 6 months. The Admiral stopped at the largest vessel, the newly commissioned USS Constitution. And our special editions? The engineer smiled. Installed and tested on all vessels. The Arctarians won't know what hit them. On Earth, Ryan Bennett practiced his Arctarian facial expressions in a mirror. As a specialist in the diplomatic corps, he had spent months learning council languages and customs. His current challenge was mimicking the subtle tentacle movements that conveyed respect in Arctarian culture. Not bad, said a voice behind him. But you're still moving the left tendrils too quickly. Ryan turned to see Zor-Kal enter the training room. The Vexillian ambassador had become an invaluable resource, teaching humans about council species and helping them prepare for eventual diplomatic relations. Will I pass for a respectful visitor? Ryan asked. You won't pass for an Arctarian, Zor-Kal said with the Vexillian equivalent of a smile. But you'll avoid accidentally insulting one, which is more important. Maria Gonzalez, a former Marine now assigned to the diplomatic security team, joined them. Ambassador, we've received new intelligence from our deep space probes. The Council is preparing for their annual Galactic Summit in 2 months. All major species will attend. Zor-Kal's skin brightened with interest. That could be significant. The summit is when major policies are established and disputes resolved. Ryan turned back to the mirror, practicing again. Think they'll be discussing the human question? Undoubtedly, Zor-Kal replied. But what remains to be seen is whether they'll be discussing humans as a potential threat or as potential allies. In her private laboratory on the Council homeworld, Science Officer Alara analyzed military deployment data. As a senior Council official, she had access to information most members never saw. What she discovered alarmed her. While publicly agreeing to peaceful observation of humans, Drev had secretly positioned Arctarian battleships throughout systems bordering human space. The deployments created a containment perimeter that could quickly tighten around Sol if needed. Ilara sent her findings to council members who had shown concern about Drev's handling of the human situation. A small but growing faction believed the Grand Counselor was putting Arctarian interests ahead of council stability. When confronted in a private session, Drev dismissed their concerns. These are standard defensive measures. The Arctarian Empire has valuable interests in that region of space. Interests that would be threatened by human expansion? Asked Counselor Trell, a usually quiet representative from the Facidi Collective. The humans show no signs of significant expansion, Drev replied confidently. Their technology remains primitive by our standards. One functional FTL ship does not make them a galactic power. What Drev didn't share was the private communication he had received from Admiral Zex, commander of the Arctarian fleet. The message was simple: preparations complete, awaiting final authorization. Drev's plan was nearly ready. The Arctarian Empire had claimed 7 resource-rich systems near human space decades before Earth developed radio. These claims had never been contested because no other spacefaring species existed in that sector. Now humans threatened those claims. The solution, in Drev's mind, was elegantly simple. Eliminate the human threat before it fully developed, secure the contested systems, and present the Council with a fait accompli. By the time diplomacy caught up to events, the resources would already be flowing to Arctarian worlds. He sent his reply to Admiral Zex. Proceed as planned. No survivors. The Arctarian attack fleet began its advance toward Sol, moving quietly through the darkness between stars. 20 capital ships and 40 support vessels formed the largest Arctarian military force assembled in a century. Admiral Zex stood on the bridge of the flagship, the inevitable dominance. Status of the human observation network? He asked his sensor officer. No signs they've detected us, Admiral. Our stealth systems are functioning perfectly. Zex nodded in satisfaction. Estimated time to weapons range of Earth? 48 hours at current speed, the navigation officer replied. Excellent. Maintain course and speed. Alert me of any changes. As the fleet continued its advance, unusual energy readings appeared briefly on the edge of their sensor range. The readings lasted only seconds before disappearing. Sensor malfunction? Zex asked. The officer examined his console. Most likely, Admiral. The readings don't match any known signature. Probably just cosmic radiation affecting our systems. Run a full diagnostic anyway, Zex ordered. I want no surprises. What the Arctarians didn't realize was that their sensor malfunction was actually the advanced detection system of the USS Madison, one of Earth's new stealth frigates. The small vessel had been patrolling the outer reaches of human space when it detected the approaching armada. Captain Paul Rogers watched the sensor display with growing concern. How many ships? 60. Vessels, sir, his sensor officer replied. 20 large capital ships and 40 smaller escorts. Definitely a war fleet. Rogers nodded grimly. Send the alert to Fleet Command, Code Omega. We've got company coming. Back on Earth, President Rivera was meeting with Admiral Kelly and the Joint Chiefs when the alert arrived. She read the message twice before looking up at the assembled military leaders. It seems the Council has made their decision about humanity, she said. Admiral Kelly, is Project Trojan ready? Kelly stood straight, his face showing no emotion despite the gravity of the situation. Yes, Madam President. All 50 ships are operational, and crews are at full readiness. Rivera looked at each person in the room. Then it's time to spring our trap. Commence Operation Odysseus immediately. As orders went out to Earth's hidden fleet, the Arctarian armada continued its advance, completely unaware that their element of surprise was already lost. They expected to find a vulnerable civilization with minimal defenses. Instead, they were sailing into the most carefully planned ambush in human military history. The Arctarian attack fleet reached the edge of the Sol system expecting to find a vulnerable civilization with minimal defenses. Admiral Zex stood confidently on the bridge of the inevitable dominance, watching as his ships moved into attack. Formation. Final sensor sweep, he ordered. Confirm the humans have not detected our approach. His crew performed the scans, confusion growing on their faces. Admiral, we're detecting unusual energy readings ahead. Specify, Zex demanded. Multiple objects in formation. They appear to be waiting for us. The main view screen activated, showing what lay ahead. Zex's facial tentacles went rigid with shock. Instead of catching the humans unprepared, his fleet faced Earth's hidden armada, already in perfect formation, waiting for them. 50 human vessels of various sizes held position just beyond Pluto's orbit. At the center floated the USS Constitution, now bearing the rank insignia of Admiral Frank Peters, promoted after his successful first contact mission on the Defiant. Open a channel to the lead Arctarian vessel, Peters ordered from the Constitution's bridge. When the connection was established, Peters spoke clearly and firmly. Arctarian fleet, this is Admiral Frank Peters of the United Earth Defense Force. You have entered sovereign human space with a war fleet, an act we consider hostile. We've been expecting you. This is your only warning. Retreat immediately. The inevitable dominance. Admiral Zex stared at the human in disbelief. How is this possible? Our intelligence showed no sign of this fleet. The humans must have built it in secret, his second-in-command suggested. Hidden behind one of their gas giants, perhaps. Zex composed himself quickly. The human fleet was impressive but still outnumbered. Inform Grand Counselor Drev of the situation, then proceed with the attack as planned. Drev's response was immediate and clear. Destroy them all. Leave no evidence. Zex turned to his weapons officer. Target their largest vessels first. Full spread of disruptor torpedoes. The Arctarian ships opened fire, unleashing a barrage of energy weapons and torpedoes designed to overwhelm enemy shields through sheer volume of fire. It was a tactic that had worked against numerous species in previous conflicts. But the human ships didn't respond as expected. Instead of forming a defensive line, they scattered in what appeared to be chaotic patterns, making it difficult for Arctarian targeting systems to lock on. Evasive maneuvers, pattern theta, Peters called out on the Constitution. All ships, implement countermeasures. The human vessels released clouds of small drones that created false sensor readings, further confusing Arctarian targeting systems. When the Arctarian weapons finally found targets, the human shields absorbed or deflected much of the energy. Minimal damage to Echo Squadron, reported Lisa Morris, now a captain herself and Peter's tactical officer. Their weapons aren't as effective against our adaptive shields. Peters nodded. Execute attack plan Phoenix. Target their command ships. The human fleet suddenly shifted from defensive to offensive tactics. Smaller, faster vessels darted between the larger Arcturian ships, firing precisely at communication arrays and weapon systems. Larger human ships engaged the Arcturian capital vessels, focusing fire to overwhelm shields one section at a time. On the inevitable dominance, Admiral Zex watched in growing horror as 3 of his largest ships lost power and drifted out of formation. Their tactics make no sense, he said. They're sacrificing efficiency for unpredictability. Sir, his tactical officer called out, they're targeting our command ships with some kind of energy weapon we've never seen before. Before Zex could respond, the deck beneath him shuddered violently. Warning alarms blared throughout the ship. Direct hit to our main power core, reported his engineer. Shields down to 30%. Impossible, Zex muttered. Return fire, all weapons. But the humans had already moved on to their next targets, leaving damaged Arcturian vessels unable to coordinate their defense. The battle that Zex had expected to be a simple extermination turned into a nightmare as ship after ship reported critical damage. Meanwhile, in Council space, Science Officer Alara had convinced several Council members to send observer ships to the Sol system. They arrived at the edge of the battle zone just in time to witness the one-sided conflict. By the sacred stars, gasped Councillor Trell, as the observers watched the battle unfold. The humans are defeating an Arcturian warfleet. Alara's crystalline form shimmered with urgency. We must convene an emergency council session immediately. Drev has led us to the brink of an interstellar war. Within hours, the full Galactic HFY Council assembled. The images from the observer ships played on the main screens, showing human vessels systematically disabling the Arcturian fleet. Half of Drev's ships were already destroyed or disabled, while the human fleet had suffered only minor losses. Grand Councillor Drev entered the chamber to find all eyes on him. This is clearly a misunderstanding, he began. A misunderstanding? Councillor Trell interrupted. You sent a war fleet to attack a newly spacefaring civilization without Council approval. I was protecting Council interests from a clear threat, Drev argued. No, said Alara, stepping forward. You were protecting Arcturian mining claims, not Council interests. I have recovered your private communications with Admiral Zex. The Council chamber erupted in shouts and accusations. In the midst of the chaos, a new communication signal appeared on the main screen. President Kathy Rivera of Earth, flanked by Admiral Kelly and Ambassador Ryan Bennett, looked out at the Council. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, Rivera began, her voice calm but firm. I am President Rivera of Earth. We regret the conflict that has been forced upon us, but we will defend our people and our territory. We now offer peace, but on terms that recognize our sovereignty and right to exist. The Council members fell silent, looking from Rivera to Drev and back again. Councillor Trell stood. I move that we immediately denounce the unauthorized Arcturian aggression and open direct diplomatic channels with Earth. One by one, the Council members voiced their agreement. Even Drev's traditional allies abandoned him, seeing which way the political winds were blowing. In the following days, Zorcal was reinstated to the Council with honors. Drev was removed from power and faced charges for unauthorized military action. The Arcturian survivors were allowed to return home, their damaged ships limping back to their territory. 1 month later, Ambassador Ryan Bennett presented Earth's formal petition to join the Galactic Council. With Zorcal's sponsorship and Science Officer Alara's support, the petition was approved in record time. On the observation deck of Earth's new diplomatic station, at the edge of Council space, Admiral Frank Peters stood beside Zorcal, watching. Ships from dozens of alien civilizations pass by. They're still afraid of us, Peters noted, seeing how some vessels gave the station a wide berth. Yes, Zorcal replied. his skin rippling with the Vexillian equivalent of amusement. But now they're listening. Peters smiled. That's all we ever wanted, a chance to be heard. And now you have it, Zorcal said. The question is, what will humanity say to the galaxy? Peters looked out at the stars, thinking of the long journey that had brought humans from their first tentative steps into space to standing among the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. We'll say what we've always said, he answered finally, that we come in peace but we're prepared for war, that we seek friendship but demand respect, that we may be new to the stars but we're quick learners. He turned to Zorcal with a grin. And we'll remind them that the next time someone warns them about humans, they should probably listen.